Fox 5 and Hot 97 present Street Soldiers with Lisa Evers.
I'm so glad you're joining us for this episode of Street Soldiers on the climate of hate. I'm your host, Lisa Evers. Sadly, we're seeing an increase in hate speech directed against the Jewish, African American, and LGBTQ communities. It's been cited as a factor in mass shootings against members of these groups in places they usually think of as safe: a synagogue, a church, a grocery store, and a nightclub. As the safety concerns grow, the need for solutions becomes even more urgent. The 2018 mass shooting at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh was an act of domestic terrorism that claimed 11 Jewish lives. Since that tragedy, bias crimes against Jewish people have continued to rise, as has anti-Semitic language. The Community Security Service works with law enforcement agencies and other authorities to protect Jewish life. They prevented an attack in New York City by alerting police to social media postings that contain specific threats.
The Jewish community is really feeling very much on edge when the director of the FBI is calling out anti-Semitism as one of the key issues the FBI is dealing with, when there's so many other major issues taking place in this country. Shows kind of the climate of where anti-Semitism is in this country. And we need to do everything we can to get in front of it.
The U.S. Department of Justice found that hate crimes rose by about 14% in 2020 compared to 2019. 3 categories make up 95% of the victims: those targeted for their race or ethnicity, their religion, or their sexual orientation. The mass shooting at an LGBTQ nightclub in Colorado Springs took 5 lives and traumatized many others.
I think people need to reject the idea of hate coming from other people, right? If we stand up to those who are spreading hate, who are spreading lies, who are spreading misinformation, and by standing up to that and saying that that's wrong, I think that's the first step.
In New York City, the NYPD maintains a real-time hate crime dashboard that shows incidents and arrests. The NYPD says hate crimes rose 17.8% for the first 11 months of 2022 compared to 2021, and were up 132% compared to 2020. In Buffalo, the 19-year-old white gunman charged with murdering 10 black Americans in a grocery store shooting pleaded guilty to domestic terrorism and murder charges. New York State Attorney General Letitia James says he was radicalized by online platforms.
There's a bigger concern that these acts of violence will continue to spear out and be carried out, right? Because unfortunately, law enforcement are being very proactive in a lot of respects, but they can't be everywhere.
Charles Tucker Jr. says law enforcement cannot keep up with the sheer volume, and parents need to be more aware of how their children's views of hate are getting shaped. Training and tolerance needs to start early, says Evan Bernstein.
You're getting 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-olds that are on social media that are seeing things that no 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old should ever see. That's formulating how they think about minorities and other people in this world, and it's unacceptable.
Let's get a bigger picture of what's going on right now from our panel. Joining me for this conversation is Evan Bernstein. He's the National Director and CEO of CSS. It's the Community Security Service, and he was just appointed to the Harvard Alumni Association Anti-Racism Working Group, and he's pretty much devoted his whole career to this issue. Evan, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much, Lisa.
We appreciate it. Also with us is Josh McBride. He's a TV host and host of Simplified with Josh McBride when anything's happening in the entertainment industry. He's our go-to guy for expert commentary and opinion, and just helping us understand the context of what's playing out in those entertainment headlines as well. Josh, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Lisa.
Also joining us is Charles Tucker Jr. He's a criminal defense attorney and civil rights attorney, former prosecutor. He's with the Cochran Law Firm in the Maryland office. Charles, thank you so much for being with us.
Pleasure to be here, Lisa.
We appreciate it. Evan, I want to start with you on this. In terms of the overall climate, I think a lot of people feel like things are really getting worse. You just don't know what's going to happen and where it's going to happen. What's your take on that?
I think that a lot of people thought when COVID took place, and we saw this big dip in a lot of hate crimes, except for the Asian community, which took brunt of it during the COVID pandemic. But I think, when we walked over the Brooklyn Bridge in early 2020 because of anti-Semitism in the country and what took place in Jersey City, Muncie, and really other acts of hate across the country, and then it kind of dipped. Everyone thought everything was over. And I think we have to where we were pre-COVID. There was a lot of hate taking place towards the Jewish community, towards other minority groups. Hate was on the rise. So much of it was because of social media and the inappropriate use of social media. And we've really now seen that continue on, post-COVID, if you will. And I think we're seeing that more and more. It's really, I think, a continuation with a bit of a pause, but I think it's only getting worse. It's not getting better, and we need to get our arms wrapped around it. But it's hatred that's been there. We have to unfortunately keep revisiting it.
Josh, with the recent attack on the club in Colorado, this comes after the Pulse nightclub in Florida, and then just a string, it seems, of headlines of attacks against members of the LGBTQ community. What was your reaction when you heard about this latest tragedy?
I think firstly was completely heartbroken, like the rest of the country, like the rest of the world. A place where a club, an LGBTQ club, and if anyone's been to one, they know how welcoming and how open and how accepting they are. A place that was for safety and for freedom has now been ruined and tarnished more than once. A place where people felt like they could be themselves and walk in that door and be whoever they wanted to be was now taken from them. That safety and security that they once had going into this place that they felt free, that they felt it was authentically them, that they could be authentically them, was now taken and has been taken from them more than once. I've thought about this a lot, and I think about it when I go out, and oftentimes if I'm in one of these places, I'm often looking for where's the closest exit? Where can I go hide? God forbid something happens. I don't do that when I go to the gym. I don't do that when I go to CVS on the corner. Sad and scary.
No, definitely. And Charles, in terms of we saw the horrific attack in the grocery store in Buffalo in the African-American community. We've seen in the past these attacks inside churches, inside Black churches, which also hold a very special place of importance in the African-American community. Where do you see the climate of hate, especially in the African-American community, directed towards it?
Well, when you put it into proper context, Lisa, this is just a situation where history is repeating itself. Well, when on a Sunday where the girls were slain in a church in the South during Martin Luther King's era, right? In a simple push for civil rights, the world was outraged, but it wasn't a nation outrage. It wasn't a national outrage, which I believe when you have a seed of hate growing, you have to pick it up from its root and stamp it out. But when you allow it to continue to fester and grow, unfortunately, now we're seeing some of those same seeds that were planted even way back when those girls were murdered in an attempt to push back the civil rights era and stop it. And in fact, what it did was to actually re-galvanized the effort and kept pushing for more and more. And now I think we should just continue to be vigilant and to be cognizant that these are the times that we're living in. And unfortunately, we have to get behind and rally around and make sure that we pull it out from its root so it could be eradicated from society.
We'll be right back. Stay with us. Charles, in terms of social media, what role is social media playing in these extremist acts that we've seen?
It's given them a platform to sow their evil, unfortunately, in a lot of young, impressionable minds. It's given a platform for lies and evil to be sown across the national view. Where people are being told that what they saw on January 6th was people walking innocently, to our nation's capital, when in fact it was one of the, worst acts of sedition that this country has ever faced since the Civil War. And in fact, the jury, proudly, correctly spoke loud and clear to exactly what that meant and reaching guilty verdicts for the two members of the militia who was in fact found guilty for seditious conspiracy for their acts. And
No,
I thought that
Go
was
ahead.
powerful. Yeah, and I thought that was powerful. Sends a
No.
powerful message to others in the future.
Josh, what about the role of social media in fomenting and creating a climate where hate can thrive?
Sad. It's sad that anybody can go on and kind of create their own. Honestly, it used to be opinion, but now it's their own reality. You know, you have Holocaust deniers, and as a person that was a grandson of someone who was in the Holocaust and would tell stories, who was in concentration camps, it's hard to read and it's hard to watch. Everybody became their own media outlet, and no one decided to listen and really listen to the experts who are the journalists and the ones that are actually investigating the stories and the ones that are boots on the ground. You know, we've also seen a rise on Twitter since Elon took over of ridiculous hate-fueled speech that has been allowed to stay on there. It's a sad time that it's a bit like we're going backwards.
In a certain way. Evan, you were involved very early on, really, with this whole monitoring of extremist groups and comments on social media, particularly towards the Jewish community. What role do you think the social media has been playing?
I think it's really the biggest cause of the rise of hate in our society. I think you could have an anti-Semite or a racist sitting at a bar, a local bar, in, say, upstate New York, and the only person they would speak to are the 3 or 4 people sitting around them. Now that same person who has the same ideologies can go on and communicate with tens of millions of people across the country. And the impact of that hate speech allows for affirmation of others to feel the same way. So many of the acts of hate that we've seen, murderous acts of hate, people went online in advance and started talking about openly what they were going to plan on doing. And then they got hundreds and hundreds of people from around the country saying that's a great ideology. It's a great thought process. And then they act out on that. And I think so. It's not just a place where people are spewing venom and hate with no recourse because they can hide themselves. It's also a platform where that one individual who maybe is mentally unstable or ready to do something is getting affirmation to do it, and then actually goes out and does it. And we're seeing that more and more. And it's impacting minority groups across this country. So I think there needs to be free speech clearly in this country, and it's critical. It's what makes America great. But the way, these private entities are allowing for people to use these entities to spew their hate and create climates that allow for murder in some cases is something that we need to get our arms wrapped around in this country and globally.
Evan, in terms of investigating hate crimes or preventing hate crimes, your group has been involved in actually using social media, monitoring social media to try to prevent them, as we saw in New York City with attacks that were planned against synagogues and other Jewish facilities and locations. Tell us how that works.
So just a couple of weeks ago, before Shabbat, the Sabbath, the Jewish Sabbath, that starts on Friday night and goes into Saturday sundown, there were reports that we received from our sister organization, the CST in the UK, who had intelligence about a potential threat from 2 individuals. We shared that with our partners in New York, the CSI, and then it was shared with the FBI, and an ongoing investigation led to 2 individuals that had white supremacist tendencies that were arrested because of that intelligence. And they were found with weapons, a Nazi's armband, and were ready to really go in on Saturday morning when the synagogues were full in New York to try to do a mass casualty situation. So these are real. And those people put out on social media, again, should I go home or should I, I'm going to be killed? Like they really put themselves very much out there on social media. Thank God they did. That led to being able to have stamps to in a positive way to allow for law enforcement and counterterror to be able to use those stamps to work with social media to help make that arrest and ultimately save lives within the Jewish community in New York.
And Charles, in a lot of the cases too, we have seen others where there have been threats involved, where we've seen law enforcement. Well, we've talked with you many times about how they're using it, and certain rappers put out social media postings and then get involved in real crimes that match the music, that type of thing. But how important a tool is that for law enforcement in preventing these attacks against our various communities?
Well, it's clever, right? And the technology is now there, which gives them the ability to, have eyes and ears in places that, previously they didn't have the capability, right? But what we've learned is we have an opportunity with social media to be proactive and to really, be boots on the ground and thwart some of these attacks.
And then, Josh, in terms of the social media, in terms of it being used as a tool to change and to raise awareness, how do you feel the LGBTQ community has done on that score?
I think twofold. I want to just piggyback off something that Charles said briefly. And I believe, and I don't remember where it was streamed, but wasn't the Buffalo shooting in the grocery store streamed while he did it? There is a excitement around response, around getting a reaction,
right,
exactly. Getting a reaction. And that's what that was, right? It was, I'm going to go shoot up a grocery store, but I'm going to stream it so everybody can see. And I remember watching that video, and it was the most heartbreaking. It looked like a video game because it didn't look real, The LGBTQ community, I think, has always been very outspoken. I think they are a bit shielded now. I think a lot of them think like me when they do go out. It's one thing to sit behind a computer or a phone and do this and make a tweet and make an important statement, but it's another thing when we're out and about in the streets, and do we feel safe?
Evan, what would you recommend people who want to at least make some kind of movement towards progress and towards a hope for a better time and equality for everybody?
I think it's about trying to find those conversations, whether it's the ones that Josh talked about that are intimate one-on-one, but also maybe larger group conversations and go to your house of worship or a group, within your alma mater or a group within your community and really try to branch out of your comfort zone and have those conversations. And maybe, it's working at a food pantry. Maybe it's working at going from one church to a different church that has completely different kind of demographic. And really starting to be open, allow yourself to be open to those conversations and be aware that likely there's a good chance you're more closed off than you think. And try to start having those conversations maybe at the micro level and then at the macro level, which can really effectuate change throughout your community. But there's so many groups that can do that at the local level in everyone's community. And if you just do a Google search or you ask around or talk to one of your clergy leaders or community leaders or an elected official, they will help you find those ways that you can start using that voice and also using your ears to help really affect change.
All right. And you believe we can really do that? We can really make a change for the better?
We have to. We have no choice. The society needs it. Humanity needs it. And we have to do everything in our power to push back on hate and not accept it and let it continue to be normalized.
Exactly. Josh, final word. Do you have hope?
I do, but it takes a lot of work. And it has to be people that actually want to put in the work and actually listen. Especially in New York, we're we go to work, we come home, we're with our families, we're with our roommates, and it's the same routine that we have all the time. I love what Evan said about, going to a local pantry, right? Getting a different perspective, maybe not going to the Lower East Side to hang out, but maybe going to Harlem, right? Seeing different groups and people and how people act. And it's I guess tolerance is the word also, but just understanding difference as a base, right, is so important. And I think that's how we can really move forward.
Definitely. Charles, final word on how should we move forward? What can we do?
Well, I like Josh's point. I mean, you always got to go to Harlem. There's good food in Harlem.
There sure is.
There's history in Harlem. Hamilton was in Harlem. And I guess just understanding the different base points, right? And realizing that we have a lot more in common than we have in the differences. I think sometimes we focus on the differences more than we really focus on what unites us, and in some respect, it may be wonderful to go to a synagogue and hear a message on love. I'm sure they teach it, it's part of the Old Testament. But we just focus on the difference. Sometimes right. I think that's what separates us. But when you're up against hate, we have no time to focus on our differences. We got to focus on what unites us.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Street Soldiers on the climate of hate. You can watch it again and share it on our Fox 5 NY YouTube page. Remember, use your mind. It's your best weapon. I hope it's your only weapon. I'm Lisa Evers. Let's push for peace, love, and justice.